Alright, test 1, test 2. Getting the Steelers Depot live stream going another Monday. So we're here every Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's make sure the stream is working. There we go. Pull it up. Get people in the room. I'm going to tweet the link out, so I'm going to turn my screen off for a second, guys. Dave Bryant is here. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hanging in there. Crazy, crazy week on a lot of levels.
It really is. I'm trying to find the latest link so I can see the live stream. I'm not seeing it on your channel.
You're not seeing it on my channel. Well, let me DM you the link here.
All right.
Quickly. Sometimes it's weird and it doesn't like to show up always right away. Alright, I sent you the link.
All right.
Let me know if that works. And thanks, guys, for being here. I appreciate it. So again, we're here to answer any Steelers questions you guys have for the next hour. Feel free to leave in the chat. I see you got it. Okay, cool. And I'll mess around on the Steelers, on Steelers Depot too. We can kind of look over some of the news of the day. Obviously, Dave, there's so much to talk about. We'll have the Terrible podcast tomorrow morning that'll kind of give our full insight on everything that's happened this past week. And one of those guys is Eric Ebron, and Pink King Colton W says, how about the Eric Ebron signing? And I'll admit, Dave, I did not see this one coming. I thought that one was going to be too expensive, but kudos to Pittsburgh for pulling it off.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming either, and we've yet to see the contract on the Ebron signing. In fact, it hasn't even been filed yet with the NFL yet.
That's a physical thing, I see. Want to check
out I would think, look, I mean, it was announced, on Friday was when we got the original report, and there's probably some logistics involved with the physical there. Really, the Steelers haven't officially announced it either.
Right.
And looked at the NFL transactions sheet just a little while ago. It just came out Monday evening, and he's not on it for that either. But yet to have seen the numbers on the deal. But it's probably going to look a lot like the 2-year, $12 million deal that Mark Barron signed about the same time last year there. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Shouldn't be that expensive of a cap number, probably $4 million at most in 2020. And obviously I've looked at a lot of tape on him. I know you have as well too.
Mm-hmm.
This guy with a lot of drops in his past, but good in the red zone and good in the middle of the field, and can provide you with some big plays.
Absolutely, and thanks everybody that's here in the chat. Mutated Genome, Ali Howard, Dennis, thank you guys so much. Cecil, know you guys have been here for a lot of these chats. Yeah, he's going to provide. Talking about Eric Ebron, he's going to provide a presence to the middle of the field. He's going to help in the red zone. You had a great article a little while ago on Steelers Depot. New tight end Eric Ebron gives Steelers a much needed red zone threat. The questions are just overall health and can he block, and is he going to do the things that Pittsburgh Steelers tight end has to be able to do? That's going to be the concern and the risk with signing Eric Ebron.
Right, and I think by the time you look at this deal, when it's said and done, you'll probably be able to look at it as like a 1-year, $6.75 million deal. I expect his base salary to be somewhere around $1.25 million, probably around a $5.5 million signing bonus with him, right around in there. So you obviously have this year invested with him, and if he plays well, which you obviously hope he does, then you get the 2021 season on top of it there. And Vance McDonald's obviously missed some time, and make no mistake about it, Ebron's missed some time due to injuries as well too. And I think the final 6 games of last season, right, Alex?
Is it a foot injury? It was ankle.
I think it was ankles.
Okay.
And I think it's ankles plural, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had surgery back in December. I know there was a big deal made out of maybe shutting it down a little bit too early, for what the Colts maybe liked and all. But that's been fixed now. So you wish he was a little bit bigger, better blocker. But once again, as you stated, a guy can hit the middle of the field for you. And as I wrote a little while ago on Steelers Depot, a guy that should provide a nice red zone target.
Absolutely. So we'll hear the rest of our thoughts tomorrow on the Terrible Podcast. I do have one complaint. I'll save it for the podcast, though, because I don't want to get us bogged down in this back and forth.
Hi, Lawrence. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Samantha. Steeler for Life. Hugo.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. I know that Mutated Genome asked at the top of the chat here, based off the free agent moves made so far, are you leaning offense or defense at pick 49? It's so tough to say and gauge. Obviously, the instincts would tell you to go offense, but it's just so hard to know. I think tight end definitely takes a step back. Like, I think them trading for Wormley and signing Wisniewski doesn't change the draft plans one bit. I think signing Eric Ebron can change those draft plans to some degree. So it's still up in the air for me. Dave, do you kind of have a feeling which way you're leaning?
I would lean more towards offense right now from where I sit here. And look, I don't think we've questioned tight end for quite a while. At least I have here for a while. I think now, I mean, with them giving Vance McDonald redoing his contract and giving him a signing bonus as part of that, and then obviously with the signing of Ebron, both those guys are going to be on your 2020 roster. I would find it surprising if they do draft a tight end. I don't expect it to come in the first, in their first 3 selections in the draft there. So I think that rules that out. I still would be surprised if they drafted a running back, at 49 overall. And really, we haven't talked a lot about Chris Wormley and them trading for him. This is a guy that can play up and down the line. And technically, how many guys do you have on this roster right now? I mean, a team that normally holds on to like 6 defensive linemen, under 53, you're about there at that number now.
Yeah, with Wormley, it's interesting. The question is, where are they going to play him? In Baltimore, he had been a 5-tech, just a true and blue 5-tech, a little bit of 3-tech as well in sub. The Steelers have him listed as a nose tackle, and obviously the loss of Javon Hargrave. Wormley is good against the run. Makes you think, well, will he play inside? But he hadn't done it before, and he is 6'5", and that is pretty tough.
He played a little bit more in 2018 inside, I think.
Okay, yeah, then that would be the most ideal fit for him to get playtime. But we'll see, because I don't know for sure how they're going to use Wormley, or if he's kind of the next year's Alulu replacement, or is he this year's Hargraves replacement, or both. I mean, we'll see on that. But a good player, and I think someone that's going to provide you very steady, consistent run defense.
If you start counting the numbers up right now, you have what? You have Hargrave. I mean, you have Cam Hayward. You have Tuitt. You have Wormley. You would think right now Alulu's fairly safe, right?
Yep. And Bugs.
And then Bugs, I mean, you starting to fill up there pretty quick there. So nothing says they still can't draft another defensive lineman. But from where I sit right now, I think I'll be a little bit surprised, Alex, if it's the first couple picks that they spend one on. So
I'll let you finish. Then I was just going to say, I mean, I understand that. Well, if they cut Big Dan, I will not lose any sleep over that at the end of training camp. And also, we've seen this team in the past. They've done free agent moves and then gone and drafted those positions highly, like last year, Steven Nelson and Justin Lane, Dante Moncrief, Deontay Johnson, Mark Barron, Devin Bush. So I don't think signing Wisniewski or trading for Wormley could alter draft plans at all. If there's a guy they really like at that spot, interior offensive lineman, nose tackle, they're taking that guy.
Well, here's the thing, too, about Wormley. You inherit a contract that he's in the final year of his rookie contract. Right. So there's that to remember, too. And look, I don't think, I don't think Big Dan and that $1.5 million base salary right now is really staring at you, So I don't think they're locked into him right now. So obviously, but my just my overall thoughts is right now I would lean against them picking a defensive tackle early.
I still think it's on the table. I really think it's mostly unchanged. But I hear what you're saying. So but when you said to get to the original question of leaning offense more likely than defense, are you now shifting towards, because I assume tight ends, it was off the board for you more than it was for me, and certainly after the Ebron signing, you're thinking interior offensive lineman, receiver, where's your head at?
One of those two, interior offensive lineman or wide receiver. I could see it going either way right there. And now with Stephon on board, it doesn't necessarily have to be a guard. It doesn't necessarily have to be a center. I mean, obviously you would like one that's position flexible, but I mean, if you got one that was just guard only or one that was just center only, I think you could live with that as well. But from where I sit right now, I would lean toward wide receiver or interior offensive lineman.
Yep, I'm with you as well. Lawrence William asks, will there be an NFL season this year? Coronavirus may say otherwise. I wish we had that kind of crystal ball right now, not only for the NFL, but everything going on. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy and washing their hands. I don't know, but I do think what we do know is that the offseason programs will be wiped out, and I think that speaks to the point of even more than past years, it will be so tough to rely on rookies this year because they're not going to have an off-season program. Training camp could certainly be impacted. Regular season, we don't know what's going to happen. Those guys are going to lose all those precious time to learn, get in the system, learn about how the coaching staff, what they ask for, how to be a professional athlete. And so I think even more this year, I know the Steelers would have done this either way, but focusing on veteran guys like Ebron, Wisniewski, and Wormley is really important because you just can't count on rookies this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, I think it's all but, well, I mean, we still got a little bit of time here, but rookie minicamp probably isn't going to happen,
gone.
right?
Yeah, it's gone, yeah.
So if you don't have that, that's a huge, it might seem like just one weekend, but that's an install period that's gone, and hopefully you get an idea which guys might be able to pick up on things. So yeah, that is a very good point about bringing in guys like Ebron and Wisniewski and Wormley, guys that you would think be able to pick up things fairly quick.
Yeah, I mean, just to think about the little guy tryout players, are they even going to exist? There isn't going to be a rookie minicamp in all likelihood for them to try out for. OTAs, minicamp, those take place just a couple weeks after rookie minicamp. Those are likely gone. And then training camp, we don't know what the status will be. It's certainly a decent probability that those things get impacted in some sort of way. So yeah, I think even harder than usual. If you're talking a tight end, for example, which is a notoriously tough position to transition to, good luck counting on that guy at all year one. It's going to be redshirt year for so many of these guys because, as Mike Tomlin would say, those players simply will not be on the moving train. All right, some more questions here. Again, thank you to everybody here for the chat. We're here till 8 p.m., so feel free to ask any sort of Steelers questions. I do have an article up from Nick Corte, a great job at Over the Cap with the comp stuff, so he kind of gives his projection on the comp there. Let's see. Evan Furnish says and asks, I am nervous the Ebron signing might be another Moncrief. Not as bad, but I feel like he may have character issues and not great hands for a receiving tight end. I'm not really sure about the character stuff, but certainly there's going to be a drop issue with him and then a health issue with him. So there is risk with this. Absolutely. Now, Dave made a good point. There is kind of probably a get-out-of-jail-free card after the season, but still, Steelers and tight ends in free agency haven't always mixed well together.
Yeah, there's one Detroit beat writer that's really, really hard on Ebron.
Oh, really?
and saying that kind of a potential to be a locker room diva and things. Look, I mean, his hands. That's one of the first things that stick out to me when you look at his tape. Is now, make no mistake about it, this is a guy that can make the hard catch look easy, but he can make the easy catch look hard.
Okay.
On top of it, he's a guy that will oftentimes use his body to catch the football. The Steelers trust their locker room, though, I think, and in essence, they think they have enough leaders in there that when Ebron comes in, that hopefully that kind of stuff will be squashed. Is he a guy that kind of wants and screams for the football? Based on what I see, yeah. But my biggest worry overall right now, Alex, when it comes to Ebron is the drops in his blocking ability, which is pretty much non-existent. I think he had something like 90-something run snaps last year that he was on the field for, which isn't many, and even fewer when you see him down in a three-point stance. A lot of those run blocks were him standing up kind of either in a bunch or in the slot.
Getting a lot of Ladarius Green vibes over here, and I know that's the boogeyman for Pittsburgh.
Well, the thing is, we just didn't. We couldn't see Ladarius Green because he never was healthy for the most part. When he went that one game or a few games that he was on the field, he made a few plays. But the fact of the matter is, and look, I'm still trying to go through his 2018 tape to see some run blocking as well too. I think this guy can make plays, and one of the other things that stuck out with me, Alex, to finish this thought up on Ebron is, I was expecting to find a few more explosive plays from him. And I think career-wise, he's only got 30-something of those. And believe it or not, Buddy George Kittle's got more than him already through his point of his career. So, look, overall, it is what it is. I think people are a little bit too up on this signing, and I might be downplaying it a little bit too much. So somewhere in the middle there.
So my last thought, and we can maybe table this discussion for tomorrow's show on the podcast, but again, this probably speaks to the lack of a long-term investment in tight end. This churn of Ladarius Green to Vance to Vanette to Ebron, and one guy enters, he leaves, and I just want them to make that investment. Not just this year, because I know the class isn't the best, but it just as a matter of principle, how long it's been ignored. That's my concern with the overall philosophy of how the Steelers are attacking this thing.
You think they draft one now or no?
I still think it's possible, and hey, if you'd had, let's just say, pick your favorite tight end from this class. I don't know if that's anybody for you, but just pick your favorite tight end, and you had a depth chart of Vance and Ebron, guys are going to make an impact right away with that, let's just call it Adam Trotman, who's third string, taken this year basically as a redshirt year, and then can step in next year if one of Vance and Ebron aren't on the roster. That's a really strong depth chart, not only now, but also for the future, and that's really attractive to me. All right, Derek Wilson asks, hey guys, if Gallimore were to fall at 49, do you think it's a no-brainer? I don't think it's a no-brainer. I like Gallimore a lot. I've talked him up plenty, but I don't think it's a no-brainer. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's a no-brainer either.
I do like Gallimore, though. I think he will be on the team's radar. If you want a Hargrave replacement, that's about as close as you're going to get. Mutated Genome, with the signing of Ebron, what does that say about the Steelers' confidence in Gentry? And Dave, you had a really good article on that today. Why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a Captain Obvious, kind of statement there. I think, and the reason I kind of went, well, I guess you can pull that up on the screen there. But more than anything, the fact that look, they gave as part of that restructure, even though Vance McDonald took a little bit less money this year as part of that restructure. He got $4 million guaranteed via signing bonus, so he's not going anywhere, barring something unforeseen. Obviously, Ebron coming in, that's an obvious now for at least 2020, and right now here we are, we're not even to the draft yet, and we have Zach Gentry at third on the depth chart right now. So is he going to be joined on that depth chart by maybe an XFL player and maybe another rookie undrafted free agent or two? I think it's possible there, but now does this mean no for Gentry long term? Well, no, but I mean, here you are. This guy's only on a 4-year rookie contract, right? And right now it doesn't look, barring injuries, and I guess that's one thing in Gentry's favor is you're playing behind two guys that have an injury history in Vance McDonald and Ebron. But even so, how many snaps are you kind of expecting Gentry to have here? And you're going to have 2 years on the books, and yeah, McDonald might be gone after the 2020 season, but you're already someone like you, Alex, you're already saying this team should draft another tight end this year. So it's not. I tell you, the prospects still don't look great for Zach Gentry. We're talking about a kid that only played roughly 50 offensive snaps last season.
Sure, he's Josh Dobbs. He was drafted to be a backup, and it's not going to prevent them from drafting talent above or signing a guy like Eric Ebron. He's always going to be just that backup guy, and he may only play 100 snaps in 2020. So you're going to have 2 years in, 150 snaps total, not a whole lot to go off of, and you're kind of sitting there as a backup. He's probably never really going to get much of a chance to be elevated towards starter. Let's see. Mark.
Say hello to some more of these people in here. Who we got? Yeah. We got Chad. We got Z Blues. Name them off.
Yeah, we got Grant. Cecil was in here earlier. Taj. Yeah, we got a good question here, I think, from Mark Leslie. I have a Big Ben home jersey and a Palomalu away jersey. If I was to get something new, what do you guys recommend? And stay safe, sending positive vibes from Scotland. Same to you, Mark. Yeah, new jerseys are always tough for me. I try to stay away from that stuff. I like to go with guys that have retired. Ex-Steelers, a Hines Ward, a Troy, which you already have, guys like that, because it is so tough with guys that are current Steelers. But I think if you want to go like a TJ Watt, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, Watt. I don't think you go wrong with Watt right now. And Minka, maybe a Minka, something along those lines. Devin Bush, you're probably going to be around for a little bit at least, you hope. So Watt, I think Watt would be the safest one right there.
I think so too. K-Dubs 4141. How many Super Bowls will we win with Jameis a quarterback? The same number he has now, 0. And I wish the talk would stop, and I think there's an off-season fodder of Jameis Winston to Pittsburgh. Not going to happen, but that's not going to stop the media from talking about it. Let's see what we got here. Chad Weiss, thanks for being here. Chad, who's the better outside linebacker between Skipper or Adene? I just said it wrong, or did I? How do you say last name? Ola Adeni, right? Okay. I'm talking to myself here. Who's the better one? I mean, we don't have a whole lot to go off of for either guy. I would say Ola, just because he's at least played NFL snaps, but they're going to go into camp this year, and they'll battle it out, and we'll get our answer.
We sure did see some good hand usage from Skipper in that limited time, but you go over, you fast forward to his time with the Giants, there really didn't stick out on film any.
Right.
During his brief playing time with the Giants last year. So going to be interesting to see those two get some. Hopefully, obviously, this thing calms down and they can get some semblance of an off-season program in. But definitely going to be interesting to see both those guys. See if they can make some progress, because you're right, we just don't have a lot of tape outside of preseason tape on those guys.
Z Blue, Joe, Alex, and Dave, which inside linebacker would you guys target rounds 4 to 7 in this draft? He's probably going to go a little bit higher than this, so I apologize for not answering the question directly, but I love Akeem Davis-Gaither from App State, and if he slips at all, I would love to be able to scoop him up. I think the guy we've talked about a lot is Evan Weaver from Cal, which just feels like a 1-to-1 Tyler Matakevich replacement.
Yeah, and I would just by default go with Weaver late in the 6th or 7th round, just for the sheer fact that I haven't watched a lot of anybody else that plays that position, because they could probably draft from the position, but there's a lot of other needs out there. And I mean, they did look at the Clemson kid who's supposed to be able to make a move from safety to inside linebacker, and that's obviously a Planet Theory guy, so that's something to consider.
I have a report on Tanner Moose going up in the morning on Steelers Depot, so we'll get my thoughts on Tanner Moose. Definitely some good, but definitely some bad as well with him. Hugo Gonzalez, do y'all know why nobody has signed Jay Ajayi? I think we could sign him to a 1-year deal and see what happens. He's had some injury issues, I think, and I have no interest in it. Here's my approach with running back. I'm not really in favor of taking one early, but if you're really at all, but if you're going to take one, you better take one early and get that guy that you talk about all the time, Dave, as opposed to just adding another name to a logjam at the back of the depth chart.
Yeah, he's almost Ajayi's in that Stephen Ridley realm, And look, even back when Ajayi was a starter in the league, I remember doing a study on successful run percentages based on kind of comparing them to what Le'Veon Bell was doing at the time. And boy, Ajayi, just his successful run percentage wasn't there at all. Just did not have the consistency. So am I surprised he's unsigned right now? No, not one bit. I mean, now, granted, look, I'm in favor of signing as many guys as you can to minimum salary benefit deals, if they're willing to take a minimum, because I don't think you can have too many of those guys. However, not all those guys are going to make your roster, and a guy like Ajayi, way down on the depth chart, he's not going to give you anything on special teams either, as far as that goes. So really no interest, in my opinion, on a guy like Ajayi.
Ditto. Cecil Clark says, don't like the Ebron signing, should have kept Nick Vannett. Well, I was not going to pay Nick Vannett the money he got in Denver. It wasn't a lot, but more than what I would have paid for.
There's no way. I can't believe Vannett got what he got.
I think it's just a tight end market being a hot commodity.
And I think there's a beat writer too saying, boy, they got a great blocker with Vannett. We didn't see it last year.
He was a good blocker in Seattle. I don't know if it's just the whole move in the trade.
He wasn't a great blocker.
He was a better blocker in Seattle though than Pittsburgh.
I wasn't impressed with his tape that much, and obviously last season not impressed that much with his blocking tape either. And really, other than that play that he made, who was it, against the Bengals?
That crazy catch he had.
That catch he had, that's about the only thing he did for him to get that money. Hey, good for him, because hopefully that'll, down the road, that'll help the compensatory value with him kind of getting the guaranteed money they did. But after bringing in Ebron, Ebron's the better player of the two all around.
Oh yeah, I mean no contest there. Speaking of comp, again, I do want to reference that article that we wrote the other day on, where was it at here? I was actually talking about Vannett and what the Steelers comp outlook looks like right now. Again, these things are fluid, nothing guaranteed, certainly nothing written in pen, but according to Over the Cap's Nick Corte, it looks like the Steelers are still in line to get for next year a 4th rounder and 2 6th-round selections. So the Vannett deal will cancel out. I think what signing it was, the Ebron sign? Yeah, I'm not sure. I forget the whole context of it. But anyways, so Pittsburgh still projected to get a 4th and 2 6th-round selections in 2021, which is good and kind of helps, ease the loss of Vannett. I know some people are trying to do this galaxy brain. Well, Vannett was a good deal because they get the comp pick back. It doesn't work like that, but it does ease it a little bit, and then trading the future 5th for Wormley, but you're going to get the 4th and 2 6th, at least projected right now. That'll help give you some ammunition in 2021.
Yeah, and the bulk of free agency, I think now, boy, this thing's already starting to go, come to a standstill almost, trickle at this point. So, the bulk of it, obviously is behind us at this point here. So, I mean, if they could come out of this with I don't know, with a fourth and a sixth, that wouldn't be too terribly bad.
Yep. One more point on tight end. Dennis says, I don't understand why Gentry didn't play more games last year. He was just raw. He was just an underclassman, hadn't played tight end a whole lot at Michigan. Steelers knew he was raw, so I'm not. I understand the point because of Fournette struggles, injuries, all that. But you had Banner, who's obviously going to be a better blocker, and Gentry was just a really raw prospect who was not ready himself to play in the NFL. Taj says, what's all this Jameis Winston talk? Seems ridiculous to me. I think I speak for Dave when I say it's ridiculous to us as well. It's offseason boredom and fodder, as far as I'm concerned.
It gets the clicks, though,
it
Alex.
Does. It certainly does. Chemo, I don't know how to say your last name. I apologize. But are the Steelers done signing free agents? I think as Dave highlighted, there may be one more move coming. I'd still love to see a veteran safety come in, though the market is basically bare at this point. But the bulk of it is done. Steeler for life. That's a good question for Dave. How much cap space do we have after these signings? Do you have a ballpark answer, Dave?
Yeah, we're still waiting on, as I said, the Ebron numbers, and we think Jordan Dangerfield got the minimum, but we're still waiting for confirmation on that. The best I can see, according to my calculations, shot in the dark on the Ebron contract, and this includes the team adjustment of $92,235, and it also includes the 676,000, almost 677,000 OTA workout debt placeholder that gets put in there at the start of the new league year for all the teams. I have the team at $5.2 million under the cap right now. Once again, that's an estimation based on what I think Ebron got and what I think Jordan Dangerfield got. Now, one of the downsides with the Wormley, the trade for Wormley is he qualified for the proven performance escalator during his time, first 3 seasons with the Ravens, and that caused his 2020 salary to be that of a low restricted tender. So, instead of getting a guy with a final year rookie year salary of like $800,000, you get one with $2.133 million salary. So that took a little bit of a bite as well too. But as real time can get right now, as my estimation goes, we're looking at $5.2 million. And as I wrote on Steelers Depot yesterday, where we're at now with the rule of 51. And the Steelers' 6 scheduled draft picks, those draft picks will use less than $1 million in salary cap space moving forward here where we're at right now. So even with the 6 picks and the signing bonuses of whatever undrafted free agents that you get added on to it right now, you're only looking at needing a max of around $1 million in cap space to sign your rookie class based on displacement and rule of 51.
Right. So the reason why it is so cheap for the rookie class is what you just touched on is roster displacement, right? That's why it costs so little for that class.
Right, because now you're looking at, and I'm looking at my up-to-date Rule of 51 right now, that the bottom of the Rule of 51 are players with $675,000 salaries, which is obviously the step up from the minimum, because the minimum right now is $610,000. So as things sit right now, only 4 of your top 4 draft picks will, if things stood as they are right now, between now and the time the draft class signs, only your top 4 draft picks would enter the Rule of 51 and displace the 4 at the bottom. Now, obviously, your bottom 2 draft picks, the way you have to count and account for those guys is, even though their total salaries do not enter the Rule of 51, you still have to account for the signing bonus amortization proration on those. So that's another 60-something thousand. So what did I put in the article yesterday? 900-something thousand is what they're looking for, as far as needed cap space to sign their draft class right now. So that number, look, if you start signing, between now and the draft, a couple guys that are like second or third year players or second year players and all, that could potentially lower the draft pool need on top of it.
$931,000 is your projection for the rookies, as highlighted on the screen right now. As you can see here in the chart that you put together, the 6th, 7th round picks wouldn't bump wouldn't come into the wouldn't qualify for the rule of 51 because these guys like Allen and Henderson have a higher cap charge, so that's the reason why it is so cheap. LK Garcia, what do y'all think of drafting Kenny Robinson Jr., the XFL safety? He looked like he had some good tape. Obviously, he's a very unique situation. I have not studied him thoroughly. I'm not even sure how old he is. Is he a college senior age right now or what? I don't have a whole lot of particular insight on Robinson, though.
I don't either.
Nicholas Huffman, are we underrating inside linebacker as a pick in the second round? I think it's certainly on the table for day 3. I don't see it being a consideration for 49. Devin Bush needs to be the guy. His role is going to expand in that every down role. I'm excited about UG3. You have Vince Williams there. Unless somebody were to really fall, and granted that there is a good deal of talent at the off-ball linebacker class this year, I just don't see that in consideration for Pittsburgh at 49. Grant Humphrey, how do you guys expect the Steelers to utilize Ebron and McDonald? Well, I think McDonald is pretty much the same, and Ebron, I suppose, is going to be more of a stand-up, kind of what Ladarius Green was supposed to be, as opposed to being an inline type blocker. I mean, I think just very basic service level way to look at it. That's how I envision it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see a lot of them down in the, both of them down in 3-point stances, tucked in on the end of the line. I think most of that will go to McDonald here, and I think with Ebron, you move them around, they'll stand them up in a bunch, they'll line them up out wide in a slot on occasion. I'm not saying that you won't see some 2 tight end sets with both of them, or with, let's say, Ebron with his hand in the dirt. It's just not a lot of tape on it, know. And especially, I mean, if you're going to do that, then you have to do it in both scenarios. You have to do it. You have to use them as a blocker in some situations there, and I'm not convinced you want to do that too terribly much. And then also, you're going to have to use them. I think he's better off the line, obviously not having to come off the out of the stance, as a receiver as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Taj asks, Josh Uche, a real possibility at round 2. I think he's a very interesting guy, probably one of the more polarizing guys that Dave and I have talked about. Potentially, I think I'm higher on that idea than Dave. My concern with Uche is that Pittsburgh normally drafts its edge rushers as guys that are bigger and bulkier. You think of Bud Dupree, Lamar Woodley, T.J. Watt, Anthony Chickolo. Uche doesn't really fit that mold. He's a skinnier, lankier type dude, but when you talk about off-ball play, that's interesting. So I know I'm kind of going back on what I just said with Nicholas, with inside linebacker probably not going to be that consideration, but if Uche gives you both, which he will, then that's interesting. So I think it's possible. I don't know if the fit is going to be what Pittsburgh needs, though.
I think we've got a great debate coming on him in another couple weeks before the draft, you and I.
I think so, too. Mutated Genome, kind of bouncing off of that, have you guys evaluated the outside linebacker class yet? Do you see a Bud replacement for 2021? Any edge guys capture your eye, Dave?
There's a handful of them. I mean, obviously the kid out of Tennessee,
Darrell Taylor.
Yeah, Darrell Taylor, boy, he's got some impressive high quality sacks, but there's enough inconsistencies there with his overall pass rush game that I think he's going to be one of those. Look, I mean, if he's there with that 3rd round compensatory pick, that might be stretching it a little bit. But I mean, if he's there, I think he could be in play.
Yeah, I think Curtis Weaver from Boise State, Alex Highsmith from Charlotte, or a couple other guys that seem to be very much on the team's radar right now. Again, when I look at that position, I look at guys that have to have the length and the size and the weight, 250 plus. I don't want any 235-pound outside linebacker trying to rush, around the edge for Pittsburgh and set a physical edge against a run. They got to be bigger than that. So I think Weaver and Taylor are 2 guys that fit that mold well. Kayla Broel, opinions on Derek Watt signing. It was surprising, for sure. That was one that I certainly didn't see coming, even more so than Eric Ebron. And then, obviously, I'm a big fan of Rosie Nixon. To see him get released certainly wasn't the best news to read. But he's a guy that can hopefully be available, which was Nix's issue, can help out the run game, and certainly you're getting a very quality special teamer in Derek Watt. Noxley asks, what's more likely at 49, running back or safety? I would say safety. That's my preference. I also think it's probably the reality of it, but I don't want to completely discount running back either, because I think it would be a possibility if the board dictates it.
I would lean toward safety.
Yeah. Any safeties that I think Brandon Jones from Texas, maybe not 49, but I think he might become a Steeler.
Yeah, well, I really like him. Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of those Texas kids could be on the radar here.
Duvernay and Yeah, those are definitely some good talent down there at Texas. Evan Furnish, over under 25 points per game for the Steelers offense this season, over under 20 points per game for the Steelers defense, and over under 30 defensive turnovers. I'm the worst at these in terms of giving a good answer and being right about these things. I'll be optimistic, say over for the offense. I'll be optimistic again and say under for the defense and over on the turnovers.
Yeah, I would ditto that. I mean, you would hope with Ben coming back, they'd be able to score a few more points this year. And look, that defense should still be strong, barring injury. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, yeah, they lost Hargrave and all, but you would think the defense would be able to hold their own again and be a top 5 defense in the league.
I will have a study, and I forget all the numbers now, and I don't want to spoil it anyway, but I did look at defenses that had those unusually high turnover numbers and what the regression rate was in year 2 after that Pittsburgh 38 takeaways this past year. So that'll be a later off-season thing, probably post-draft that I've kind of been kicking around, but I will have an article that kind of looks at, you know, what can we reasonably expect for the number of takeaways this defense gets in 2020, because it is hard to assume that they're going to get 38 again just because of how high that number is. Dennis, thank you so much. Yeah, if you guys like the stream here, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you would like to do so. We're here every Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. DN Steelers 0391. Vanette, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. You think that's a fair way to look at it, Dave?
I just don't think he was as good a blocker as what people are maybe thinking that he was.
Well, do you think his tape in Seattle is the same thing that Pittsburgh got? Or do you think it was worse?
Basically, yeah. I mean, I never saw it from the Seattle perspective with his run blocking.
See, I didn't see it. I think his blocking certainly was never the best, but it was better in Seattle. I do want to say is that I think obviously the trade coming in mid-season, making that adjustment, different part of the states. I mean, that is a tough transition to make, and maybe some guys take longer to adjust to that than others. So I do want to throw that caveat out there. But regardless, he was just bad in Pittsburgh, and I got a lot of blowback for just stating the obvious and saying, like, not one of Colburn's best decisions, and people were really up in arms over that, and I don't know if that's just the thing where the offseason we just can't criticize these guys or what, but got a weird...
You're not allowed to criticize new signings.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, we are both Kevin Colbert fans, but it's okay to point out occasionally that a 1-year rental on a 5th-round draft pick like that wasn't probably the best move to make. You know.
Right. Yeah, I was as mild in my criticism as I could be. I could be a lot tougher on Colbert for that because it really was kind of a desperation deal, but just one that didn't work out. And that's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean he's a bad GM, but it was just a bad trade. Nicholas Huffman, thoughts on Willie Gay Jr.? I mean, Dave, I know he's a guy you talked about a lot since the combine. I think you DM'd me like after his workout and just went, this guy's legit. But the question with Willie Gay Jr., no relation, by the way, to the Steelers' William Gay, is the off-the-field concerns. And for Pittsburgh and their hearts and smarts and all that, doubtful he's going to be on their radar.
Yeah, boy, he pops on tape, and he popped at the combine, but when you start, unfortunately, and once I started digging deeper into kind of his backstory, he broke the quarterback's orbital bone or something like that.
Replacement stuff.
I mean, that guy got a little bit of anger management in there, and I think there was something else with, wasn't there something else with, he
got suspended for something else, yeah. Academic fraud, I think it was.
Academic fraud or something like that, and look, I mean, here's the thing. Athletic player made some plays. You better do your homework on him, as far as off the field stuff goes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Again, with this whole draft season disrupted, it's harder for those, red flag guys for medical or character or whatever to be able to prove themselves to teams. Just because you're not going to have that opportunity to come in for a visit the way that you would in years past. And, I mean, for medical guys, this is kind of diverge for a moment. I mean, I doubt there's no medical rechecks this year at the combine, right? I mean, so if you're a medical guy that's had an injury, coming off an injury, surgery, or whatever, I doubt you're going to get checked out unless you go to your own doctor and try to send that around the league. So this year is really going to hurt the small school guys, the underclassmen, and the character red flags and the medicals. So it's a really different landscape. Z Blues, it's Z for a name, guys.
You do a really good job of trying to follow along with this thing. You know it. You're used to it, aren't you?
Yeah, I've had a couple reps here. Not my first rodeo. Is there an outside linebacker, pass rusher from the XFL you would like the Steelers to go after? I have no idea. Even thinking right now. I mean, no name comes to mind, Dave. If you have one, feel free to offer it. But I don't have
not on top of my head. But I would think now. I think today started the officially. I think today was the day that they can start signing those guys.
Right, because PJ Walker went to Carolina, right?
Right, and I mean, you would think maybe 3 or 4 of these guys wind up on the Steelers roster. At minimum maybe 2, but we'll definitely see here. No, look, these guys are going to be hard pressed. I mean, we already talked about early in the show about. Or in this live stream about how tough it is with no off-season programs and all like that. I mean, it's tough for these guys to come in off the street and be this far behind and eventually maybe make a roster or a practice squad, not having any off-season work.
DN Steelers 0391 with 2 questions. What do you hope to see from Justin Layne this year? I want to see him be able to defend the deep ball better. I think long speed and hip stiffness and tightness were his issues. I saw at Michigan State, I saw in training camp and in the preseason. So I just want to see a guy that looks more comfortable, more fluid, and is able to defend the deep ball. So Layne, I think, has a lot of work to do. What are you looking for, Layne?
I'm hoping we don't see him have to be on the field much.
Well, what about in preseason and camp, assuming there is
look,
one?
I mean, he had that first game, he had a tough go at it. So I just want to see an understanding of coverages and him be able to turn and run, be able to show some of that athletic. Because, look, I mean, he's done a few nice things as far as special teams and gunner goes and all like that. Right. So just an overall better preseason performance than obviously he had last year.
I want him to prove me wrong because I was concerned about that Layne pick the second they made it, and I think those concerns are still there. Dave, can you explain the relationship between you and Dangerfield's agent? Funny story. What's the story there?
It's just the thing is he tends to monitor everything we tweet or write about him, and Matthew Marks see the same way, and I think even Alex has had an article or 2 on him, and he gets upset when you don't give Jordan Dangerfield enough respect, and I know that's a kind of a pun there, but I mean, look, we've said it several times about Jordan Dangerfield. The fact that he's still around the league and re-signed once again, and right now from where things stand, it's going to be hard to keep off the roster yet again. Not saying that he can't end up losing his spot, but I think it's just the fact that he knows. We follow each other on the Twitter machine, and he reads almost everything that we write and tweet about him. I think that's where it starts and ends there.
Grant, I'll get to you in a second, but Taj, with a Dangerfield-related question, since we're talking about him, I'll lump it in. And with the signing of Dangerfield, can you see the Steelers still draft a safety? Yes, absolutely. I think Dangerfield is good to have depth and special teams, and just some sort of veteran presence back there because he had started games before. But you better not just be content with Jordan Dangerfield being your backup. And I'm sure I'll hear from his agent soon about that because I bet he's monitoring the live stream. Grant, Humphrey, thoughts on Jalen Reagor, the receiver from TCU? Steelers had interest in him. Can fly. I think he runs faster than how he tested. I mean, he came in heavy at the combine, only ran a 4.46, and somebody that I think can be that big play vertical threat that Pittsburgh will certainly be looking at. I don't love Reagor, but I do like him, and I think he could be on the radar as a pick at 49. Hugo Gonzalez, thoughts on Denzel Mims? That's like my draft crush. I've been talking about Mims since before the Senior Bowl, and I think very few guys have helped their draft stock more so than Denzel Mims, a guy that can just climb the ladder with the best of them, can block. He's like DK Metcalf minus the 3-cone controversies, and I think Mims is going to be a potential first-round pick, and I think he's going to have a really good NFL career.
Everything is there, even if you just do like a 5 or 6 game contextualization on him. The combative catch, the ability to go up, the speed, the over the middle. I mean, there's not a lot not to like about him. And you had him circled right. I mean, before the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if he's going to be a hard one to pass up, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if he's there at 49, I might sprint to the podium because that's just a really good player. Taj, I know Colbert and Tomlin were at Tennessee. I believe he's meaning Clemson here. Do you think they might have their eyes on T. Higgins? That's interesting. I mean, his numbers weren't great, and that could cause his stock to fall. Talking about T. Higgins, his workout times were not impressive. So could that be a guy at 49 that slips through the cracks we should talk about more? Maybe. I don't have a great feel and gauge for that, but I think they like a lot of those Clemson guys, whether you're talking Kayvon Wallace, who I think they really are going to like, Tanner Muse, who they had a pro day dinner with, John Simpson, the guard, and T. Higgins. So I think a lot of Clemson guys are certainly on Pittsburgh's radar.
I like Higgins a lot better at 102 than I do 49.
You think he would fall that far to 102?
No.
Okay. Well, you have to like him at 49 then. Steeler for life. Do you think a lot more 2 tight end sets this year? And do you agree it puts defense in a dilemma going big or small?
You got to be able to run out of that, though.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good question. Yeah, Matthew has a buy or sell article on this today. I'll pull up. I don't know. That's a fair question.
How do you feel about lining up running 12 personnel with McDonald and Ebron right now, and expecting your running game to improve?
Not great, Bob. I'm that clip. Here's what I said about Vance before the Ebron signing. Remember, Vance is no longer, and really never was, never will be, 1,000 snap type player. Your offense is going to run about 1,000, 1,100 snaps in the season. And Vance at his best is 500 snap play. Now, he played 745 last year, but he was clearly over his limit. You saw the issues with him playing that many snaps. So I said, Vance is 500 snaps, best case scenario. You better find another 500 snaps to supplement Vance McDonald. And I think Ebron is going to be that. So I don't know how often we're going to see them on the field together. Certainly in some packages, red zone especially. But I think it's going to be where they're going to be subbing in and out for each other as opposed to them being on the field a whole lot together. That's my read of it. Cecil Clark, the running game has got to get better. Running back at round 2. I know Dave feels similar to me. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out completely. If somebody like a Jonathan Taylor were to somehow fall to 49, I don't expect that to happen, but who knows? I just don't see that as the biggest need. And again, I mean, Ebron kind of fills that tight end need, but signing Wisniewski, trading for Wormley, to me, does really little to nothing to change your draft plan. So you only got 6 picks, a lot of needs. I don't think running back is going to do it.
Somebody got to get busy twisting my arm.
Won't be me.
But I can't. I mean, I'm not going to say it won't happen with a running back there at 49, but y'all better get busy twisting my arm to open my eyes and to possibly draft one there.
Dennis, this is a meme, but it made me laugh. Ebron and Vance will run into each other and be out for weeks with injuries. Oh, we'll knock on wood there. Mark Leslie, any word on this new football simulator? Alex would be great during lockdown. I wish, Mark. They're working on it. It's one guy doing it right now. It's not going to be released for a while, but the new baseball game, Out of the Park 21, came out if you want to get your fix for baseball season, since there's no baseball here for a while. Tosh, thoughts on Roquan Davis, the defensive lineman? I don't think I've looked at him yet, Dave. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so apologize, Tosh. Mark Miller, does he
run? One of our guys has one of them have a preview up on him or no?
I can look. I don't know. There might be one in the hopper. I'm not sure. We've kind of had a delay on this stuff. I'm not seeing anything with Davis. Okay. Yeah, we'll check him out, though, I'm sure, before the draft starts, Tosh. Mark Miller, does Ebron's ability to stretch the field soften the need to take a receiver early? I think best player available regardless of position at 49 to some degree, but I still would love a slot threat because Ebron, what's his long-term viability? Maybe he's around for a while, maybe not. So I short answer, no, not really. That's the way I would look at it. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, look at this guy's got a lot to prove in his first year. Like I said, I think initially you have to look at Ebron's deal as a 1 year, whatever the 2020 money ends up being. Is it going to be 6.75? I expect the first year money to come in total between signing bonus and base salary around 6.75 million. So I think you need to treat it as such right now and go into the draft thinking, okay, we got Ebron to help us out maybe in the slot and those instances for 2020, but we need to be convinced, going beyond that. So I think that's the way you enter the draft right now.
Yep, I agree. And I still would love to get another slot receiver behind Juju, because if he goes down, you might have some limitations in terms of your options there. He's also
I think they will draft. I think the receiver that they draft this year, if they draft one early, hopefully will be more of that kind of guy that can play in the slot.
Yeah. Nicholas Huffman, thoughts on Rashard Lawrence and Lloyd Cushenberry III, both from LSU. If you had to choose in round 2, I would go Cushenberry over those two. But I think both will be on the Steelers' radar.
Yeah, I believe so as well, too. And like we said, with signing Stefan Wisniewski, I don't think I would like to see a guard with some center experience or a center with some guard experience get drafted early potentially, but I don't think you have to necessarily go with that guy that has that position flexibility right now, right away, because of what Wisniewski and his position flexibility gives you.
I agree, but and if you're going to look for flexibility or lack of it, I guess, go with the center, because I think it's easier to teach that center to play guard than that guard and hope he snaps well.
I would agree, too. And really, when you look at Wisniewski's most recent history, it's him playing guard.
Right.
I think,
when did he play center last? Jacksonville before that?
I want to say it might have been the Raiders. I mean,
that's way back.
If he did play much with the Jaguars at center, I'll have to go look at the snap breakdown.
Yeah. But I agree on Cushenberry, and I think Cushenberry can play guard too. He's got good size. He's got 34.5-inch arms. Like he's got the size. Like a Nick Harris. We had this discussion before. Nick Harris is a center only, and not in Pittsburgh, and probably not for a lot of teams. But Cushenberry's a guy with the size that's like a Foster or DeCastro that can play guard because you're gonna have the size there to take on some of those bigger defensive linemen. Taj, good question here. Any chance Bill O'Brien trades J.J. Watt for a Primanti sandwich? We can only hope so. Yeah, Houston, one of the biggest offseason losers. Doug Swagger, thanks for being here. Now that we have some flexibility at 49 is taking a running back earlier is still out of the question. I don't think either of us have said it's out of the question. I just still find it unlikely for all the reasons I said before. Is that where you're?
Yeah. Look, I mean,
you're not ruling it out entirely.
I'm not ruling it out. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean the Steelers won't, be in a position where they view it. From where I view right now, I just don't see it to be as high of a priority as others. And once again, as I've said numerous times with Alex on the podcast, look, if you are going to get one, take one at 49 overall and get one that can do it all and get him on the field as soon as possible. You know?
Right. I agree. And also, I think the biggest disconnect between the Steelers and the fans is Benny Snell. I think they're really high on Benny Snell, and maybe the fan base isn't as much. Steeler for life. Do you think the new article with Ben should make everyone feel a little better? I'm optimistic about it, but damn, all these negative fans. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, all good news, and Ben saying, for those who didn't see, that he's throwing now without pain for the first time in years is a positive. I still don't know if I love, it's hard. I don't know where I'm in on that. I mean, I guess it's a good thing. I mean, Kevin Colbert's whole idea of Ben will be better post-surgery, I guess this is evidence of that, but, he's still 38 years old, coming off major elbow surgery. We'll have to see how he looks. I mean, I'm still confident, but we got to see it.
He did play. It does look like Wisniewski played mainly center at Jacksonville.
And so that was 2015?
In 2015.
Okay, gotcha. So still been a while. I'm sure he's played a little bit since, and he hopes to obviously get work at both spots. So what did Ben's comments about being pain-free and being optimistic, did that make you feel any different, Dave?
Look, we don't have any reason to doubt until we see it.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is he going to say?
Yeah. I think it was interesting, the fact that he said he had felt pain, which I guess isn't a shock, but it is notable.
I mean, we talked the other day on the podcast. I mean, the surgery he had, even though we don't technically know exactly what all went on there, it is serious stuff for a guy of his age and all like that. But I mean, until I have a reason to worry, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, we'll have to see him in camp. But again, everything has been encouraging so far. Grant, I'm with you on Mims. Nick asks, on paper, that offense is looking like a legitimate threat again with Ben leading them. Do you think Ebron will be acclimated to the team by the time the season starts up? Yeah, I think he should be. I mean, he can get a playbook now, and again, a lot of these guys will be behind the 8 ball, but he's an NFL veteran. He's been in new systems before. There may be a little more of rust than a normal year with everything going on, but he should be up to speed by week 1. Z-Blues, inside the 10-yard line, Gentry as the end of line tight end, Mack in motion, Ebron standing up as on an option route. I think we could see it, so 3 tight end sets on the goal line, maybe in some selective packages, but certainly.
We got to see a lot more from Gentry as a blocking tight end first. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I mean, we're going off of 50 offensive snaps last season, and really most of those being at the beginning of the season, their worked great. I mean, he's got a lot to prove to get on the field as a run. I mean, about the tight end depth chart right now, Zach Banner is probably your best blocking tight end. He's a dadgum tackle.
Right. But there are obviously some very interesting red zone threats. All 3 guys are capable of it. Will we see them all right away? Probably not. Maybe for a snap or two in a certain situation. But maybe I think it's a little too rich, too early to say that. Samantha Ecorn, last year A.J. Brown was drafted 51 by the Titans. If there's a receiver like him on the board, would you take him in the second? Sure. I think we've both talked about slot guys, but I think you have flexibility this year, whereas last year you're saying, okay, we got to fill AB's spot at that X receiver spot. Let's get Deontay Johnson. This year you have your 3 starters with Juju in the slot, James Washington as the Z, and Deontay Johnson as the X. So, slot guy I kind of prefer, but you're looking for top talent anywhere you can get it. So if Denzel Mims were to fall, or some people like Donovan
don't Don't let Justin Jefferson fall.
No, then I know Dave's going to sprint to that. Yeah, so I think there's certainly going to be, you just want to get good talent, and if that's an outside guy, then so be it, like an A.J. Brown mold, then sure, or a slot guy works as well. So I think receiver is still any type of receivers on the board for Pittsburgh. Christian Mager Sturgeon, do you expect the Steelers to draft a defensive tackle to replace Hargrave? I still expect it. I mean, it's easier said than done. But even if you want to play warmly inside at nose tackle, that's ultimately what happens. I'm more than okay with trying to push Big Dan off the roster and drafting, even if it is a run stuffer like a Rashad Lawrence or Devon Hamilton. I think Jordan Elliott from Missouri is a guy we should probably talk about a little bit more. And so same with Justin, let me get the last name here, Justin Matabuke from Texas A&M, a little light in the pants, but has good length. And so I think those are some earlier round options that we should probably recognize a little bit more. Crown the King, are we expecting Darrell Taylor to be available at 49? I think he safely should be, and I would not take him at 49. That's probably too high for me. Is that fair, Dave?
Yeah, that's where I am looking at breaking down. I went back and looked. I think I have all but one of his sacks up on SteelersDepot.com.
Yeah,
if people want to check that out.
That article up now.
Yeah, pull that up so people can see that. There's links to every one of those, everyone but a half or a full sack of his there. But I think third round more is kind of where his value is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So you can see the contextualization. This is from March 7th. So just type in Darrell Taylor on the search bar. If you're on Steelers Depot, you can pull up. Dave does a great job putting all these together. A lot of work there on that one for sure. Nicholas Huffman, with the addition of Watt, what type of pressure does it take off Ben's arm? None. Really, I don't see any correlation or relation. There's obviously want to have a good ground game this year and have a more effective run game, but Ben's arm, if he's healthy, you're good. If he's not, then you got big problems, and Derek Watt's not going to solve those. Duck Swagger, who's the one receiving back in the later rounds that you like? I forget his name. I think you're talking about Antonio Gibson from Memphis. Oh, and Noxley answers it right after that. So thanks to Noxley. I think that's who we're talking about. Mark Leslie, what originally made you guys Steeler fans? Were you ever close to following another team? I was basically born into it. I was born in Florida, but moved to PA when I was 3. So I was just basically born in Steeler country. And Dave, you have a good story behind this one.
Yeah, my old man, I was born in Florida too, God bless me, but my old man was in the Navy and Dallas Cowboys / Miami Dolphins fan, and he was a Cowboys fan because Roger Staubach was in the Navy, yada, yada, and, I was born in 68, so around that, if you do the math, around 4 or 5 years old, I remember my dad being upset, at the Steelers in a game for whatever reason, and the cool thing for me to do at that age to be a little thorn in the side was be rebellious. So the Steelers made him mad. That became my team, and the rest is kind of history there.
Duck Swagger, does Dave like KJ Hamler? Do you like Penn State's KJ Hamler?
Yeah, look, there's a guy I've done a contextualization on him too. I mean, there are obvious reasons why people kind of compare him to Tyreek. An explosive kind of smaller, shiftier receiver. Is he going to be in play at 49? I think that's a bit early for him when it comes to the Steelers. But I like him. But I mean, he's definitely on the light side. You got kind of.
What is he? 178 pounds.
Yeah, he's if that, right? I mean, right around in there. But you kind of worry about those smallish because, look, we even saw Tyreek Hill this past year. He sure seems to get banged up a bunch, with him. But, yeah, I mean, I like his talent. I like his explosive play capability. And, boy, you give me a guy that can create explosive plays. I like those kind of guys. I just think 49 might be a little early for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jason Williams, do you think the Steelers bring back Martavis Bryant? No, I do not. Dave, I assume you're no as well.
On who's that?
Martavis Bryant.
Yeah, look, I think we hit on that the other show or whatnot. I don't see it.
Yeah. Soliver 6 with an interesting question here, and this is news to me. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was behind a paywall or something. With Ben finally disclosing what his surgery was, reattached 3 flexor tendons, do you guys know of a quarterback that has had the surgery, and how was their play or their play post surgery? I'm not aware of that. I don't know what article that was. Maybe that was a paywall thing. Or is this news to you, Dave, like it is to me?
I think I've heard some. I haven't really researched it too much because you could tell me what type surgery it is, and it still really doesn't mean it. Maybe that's a question for Mel to kind of Dr. Mel to research and all like that. Yeah, I don't.
And
I'd be guessing.
Right, and to the second part of that, I'm not aware. I don't have the medical history with me. I mean, maybe you can try to reach out to Dr. Mel, but I know she's very busy right now with everything going on. So maybe later in the off season we can kind of investigate that. A good and valid question though, for sure. Soliver 6, I appreciate that. Mark Miller, if the Steelers sign a slot receiver, do you prefer a small, quick guy or a bigger power guy? Tennessee wide receiver Juan Jennings is a beast. Yeah, Jennings is probably going to be a 7th-round pick or undrafted guy, but I absolutely love his tape. He just didn't run well. I would prefer the smaller, quicker guy because they don't have that type of guy on the roster in terms of the slot. Deontay Johnson's kind of that mold, but that X receiver spot. So you can go either way, but I would prefer that smaller, shiftier type. Are you small guy or big guy, Dave?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's got like both, but that's a good answer.
Both.
One player is from Nicholas Huffman. A couple more questions. We'll wrap up the stream. One player on offense and one player on defense you would add to this year's team in the last 20 years, and why? That's a great. I'd say Troy defensively. I mean, Troy and Minka, that'd just be incredible. Offense, I don't know. I'll go Troy with the defense. Give me an offensive player you'd add to this team right now.
Boy, give me if Le'Veon Bell's still in shape, I'd like to have that skill set back.
That's a good one. Yep. Why was Ben playing with pain for years and did not address it? I mean, I think that was probably just a normal for him. I'm sure a lot of quarterbacks are just feeling some sort of discomfort just because of the wear and tear of all those years. So I don't know if it was something that was so bad that he was unable to do things. Obviously, he was clearly able to play. So it's a good question, but I don't have an answer for that. What's your over-under on passes thrown by Ben this year from Samantha Eckhorn? I don't know. I mean, 450. Is that a fair over-under? 500? What would you go?
Obviously, you don't want up in the 600 range, I don't think.
Right. I mean, this is an over-under, so I guess it's not just saying what do you think his number's going to be.
That 450 sounds like a perfect stab.
Yeah. A couple more here. What are your thoughts on wide receiver Darnell Mooney? I don't think I've watched him yet. Dave, have you watched Darnell Mooney?
I haven't watched him.
No. Thanks for being here, Mutated GM. Thanks so much for everybody who's been here. When are you guys going to have Dave T on the podcast? Always my favorite show every year. Dave, any idea on time?
No, I haven't reached out to him yet, but we always find a way to get him on. Yep. So he'll I just don't know when. We'll figure it out and get him on.
Yep. Russell Williams, best player available, Steelers mentality. I'm good with that. That track record considered, but aren't you dying for a sparky playmaker? I think Pittsburgh drafts a lot of sparky playmakers. I think that's
look at Wormley's spark.
Yeah. Is it high? I didn't even know.
132 or something. Chris Wormley, he was the highest ranked defensive lineman, sparkiest defensive lineman there at the combine that year. So don't think that spark don't matter.
Yep, for sure. Chad, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Do you guys think Edmonds bounces back this year? Can he make plays? And the more he plays and the less splash he provides, the more I'm concerned by it. Not a bad player, but you just got to have that splash, and it's hard to predict that. Soliver 6 is Ron Koch's Post-Gazette article. Okay, I'll check that out. I must have missed it. Post-Gazette's been weird for me lately trying to load it and stuff too, so maybe I missed that. Jason, thank you so much. Couple more here. I think we have 3 more. Julian Washington, do you guys like what we have at running back? I feel like we need a more explosive player there. As I said before, I mean, if you want to address it, you got to address it early at 49 for sure. If you're addressing in the 4th round, like it's not going to do anything for you. And if you can get kind of a niche hybrid player like Antonio Gibson from Memphis, Lynn Bowden from Kentucky, I'm more open to that. But I'm not adding just another okay back in the 4th or 6th round just because it's not going to give you anything that you don't already have. Dave, are you
Go ahead.
I guess I've talked about running back enough probably there. Any concept as to why Steelers scouts are so good at receiver and so bad at cornerback? What do you think, Dave?
Well, they've missed on a few wide receivers in the past. Let's not
But
pretend
they,
like
they are
perfect.
worse. They are worse.
Yeah.
At the secondary.
Look, I mean, Artie was overdrafted easily. Boy, who else? I mean, look, William Gay. To find William Gay in the 5th round, and Bryant McFadden, as a 2nd-round guy, proved his worth and was huge in the playoffs. Even as far back as rookie season. But for the most part, yeah, this team just not good. I mean, look at cornerbacks as a whole. That's a tough position league wide to figure out there. So I don't have a reason why they're better at wide receiver than cornerback.
Yeah, I'd have to kind of think about it for a bit. I think for the longest time, with Nick LeBeau, the philosophy was cornerbacks. They don't have to be great athletes. They don't need to be big playmakers. Just physical guys who could tackle the catch. And so there was always a limited upside to those guys because you were just trying to get steady run defenders and tacklers and all that. Then I think they probably overcorrected and tried to find hyper athletes like Artie Burns and try to take this moldable talent and try to mold them like like I said, like Artie, like Cortez Allen, kind of like Curtis Brown, and they probably overcorrected a bit on that, so they got to find that happy medium. It really have just turned to free agency and trading for guys, which has been their most successful approach. Jason Williams asked, James Harrison, Hall of Famer. I would love to see it. I think he's worthy of it. I'm skeptical if it will happen. If it does happen, I think he's going to be waiting 5 or so years. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think he's got a long wait if he gets in at all. Just the sack numbers just weren't high enough overall, you know?
How many was it officially? 85, 90?
Eight. I forget how many.
It was like between like 80 and 90. And I don't know how many Hall of Famers there are with that number of sacks in the Hall of Fame. Now, again, I think for my criteria, he was a dominant player for several years, and that's kind of the bar that I set. He was like the most feared guy in the NFL for 3 or 4 years in a row, so I think he would be worthy of it. But when you look at those sack numbers on the whole, comparing to other Hall of Famers, it's a tough sell.
Yeah, I agree.
Kenneth Jackson, what are your thoughts of safety linebacker Tanner Muse, and if so, what round? I'll have an article on him in the morning, my scouting report. I'm probably looking at 4th to 5th round for Tanner Muse. Let's see. I think that's basically about it. Mark Leslie, last question here. Favorite Super Bowl win you've seen?
84 and a half for Harrison.
84 and a half. Gotcha.
He's currently, I think, 60th overall on the all-time sack list.
Yeah.
You got Cameron Jordan, believe it or not, ahead of him.
Really?
Yeah, with 87 and Calais Campbell at 88. No, just not enough. I mean, Justin Houston 89 and a half. So just not enough sacks, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Mark Leslie, favorite Super Bowl win you've seen? For me, it's Super Bowl 40, the first Super Bowl win I was ever alive for and remember, and that was just a great win with Jerome Bettis and all that. So Super Bowl 40 for me. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, all of them.
Fair enough.
They never get bored watching those things.
And then, Evan, we have an article, actually just searched it on Seagulls Depot by Ross McCorkle that does like the top 10 games to watch while we're all in quarantine. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Great chat tonight. Really thankful for it. Again, we're here every Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm sure Dave will be back next week as well.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Peace and love.
Yeah, be safe, guys. Make sure you're following the right instructions, washing your hands, and just staying healthy. Certainly hope that for all you guys, and we'll get through this thing together. So thank you guys so much for being here, and back next week, Monday, and I'll have the podcast tomorrow. The Terrible Podcast will come out tomorrow morning/afternoon. So thank you guys. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.